Welcome to Not Factory Approved. Thanks for coming back. The site where I show you how to repair, rebuild, restore, or build many different things. A wide range of various projects. Some work, some don't, but what can I say? So hopefully you're not just watching this because you're bored. Here we have a 2003 Jetta TDI. It has a squeaky heater fan that comes and goes. Sounds like a bunch of squirrels. So I've done this before with other cars. I take the heater motor out, put a couple of holes in the end, or one hole in the end, put some oil in there, work it around, and it gets rid of the squeak for a long period of time. So I'm going to try that with this one too. Most of the time it works on other vehicles I tried it on. Sometimes it doesn't. There are good videos available on YouTube on removing the heater motor from this Type 4, I think it is, Jetta, and Golf, etc. So I'm not going to go into great detail, but there's lots of good videos around. Underneath the glove compartment with the Torx screws, and then it looks like it's a pretty easy job after that to get the heater motor out. So I'll show you what I find. So somehow it's a little more complicated than I was led to believe. And it's 3 screws along the bottom of the glove compartment, 3 screws along the top inside. Then there's the gear shift portion of the console. Has to be, there's 2 screws there with little plastic tabs that come off with a good coarse fingernail or a small flat screwdriver. And then there's Torx screws beneath that as well. Those have to come out. Then the console can slide back a bit if you're careful. Then you don't have to remove the center console at the back where the handbrake lever is. The screws are all the same size Torx T20 and the same length, so you don't have to watch where you take them out of. That's always an adventure, putting the wrong screws back. They're too long, shorting something out, or just causing trouble. So now it looks like the glove compartment can come off because the tab at the bottom, sticking down at the bottom, was hooked into the console. And that's this portion right here. And now it should slide out, and there's one wire to undo with a quick connect. And see where the heater fan is. The insulation that you see is wrapped around the back of the glove compartment. At the top it's held on with tie wraps, so if you want to take it out completely you have to clip those and replace them later. But the heater fan is behind this insulation. Right there. I'm not sure why, but this is all different than the video I watched. He said it was a Type 4, which is supposed to be 2000, around 2000 to 2005, I think, 2004. So I'm not sure why exactly, but there you have it. That's life. I did manage to find this Sobeys grocery card beneath the back of the console. So I guess we can't put cards up there anymore. Never even noticed it was missing. And this, the wire has to be unclipped here. Just a pressure clip. Then there's a connector up there, which usually just pull them together and pull out. I'll have to look a little closer at that. And there we go. One side and tab out on the other, and it should come out. Looks like I might have to remove these screws here. One more over here behind the wire. And then there's a third one over here. It looks like that panel, that housing is clamped down over retainers on the motor. That's what it looks like at this point, so see where that goes. I used a 6mm socket and ratchet to remove these screws. I see that there's a big tie wrap here holding the housing together, so that might complicate things. Have a look at that. And these connectors, there's one inside there at the back, which is a lot of fun to get to, especially with my meat hooks. And these connectors, the tabs pull together here. You pull those together and it slides out. Same with the power for the fan. If you make a habit of dropping things like I do, a magnet can be a handy thing. And another handy feature is a ratchet with a handle that allows you to spin it one way or the other. Here's the fan motor with the squirrel cage blower, and to show you how nicely it turns, you can see it's quite stiff. It should spin freely. Usually these motors have a bushing in front, and this one has it behind here. It's difficult to see. The top of the housing of the motor is underneath, and then a shaft comes out, and the squirrel cage sits on that. I might have to take the squirrel cage off to lubricate it, but I'm going to try first. And I'll use 3-in-1 oil. It's good for electric motors. I used to take these all apart on other vehicles and re-grease them. It wasn't worth the effort, so I'm going to try oil. Usually the back end is a bearing and it's sealed, so I shouldn't have to lubricate that. We'll see what happens. Again, we'll see what happens. So far I've been unable to pull the squirrel cage off. I can't seem to get enough oil down inside the shaft. It's better, but still stiff. So I'm going to try a little heat here. Not too much. See if I can loosen it from the shaft. It's got a little bit of corrosion there, probably holding the plastic on a steel shaft. So try that effort. So far no success getting the squirrel cage off. So I'm going to try now with these 3 clips, pressing those in, getting the whole motor out of the housing. Being careful of any wires that are still left behind. Turns out these are rubber clips. They're pieces of rubber that hold it in place. So I'm using this screwdriver, pushing it in and prying, and hopefully moving this back a bit. I think what I will do is I'll add some tension by putting this screwdriver through, like that. One, 2, and the third one. My apologies if you can't see this very well. Looks like they're all pushed back now. And the housing comes off. Maybe. Okay. So that's the back end. Got little metal filings on it, which is not a good sign. See if I can get some oil down inside there. Sometimes you have to wait and let it drip in a bit. Still the same. think I will blow it out though. Got compressed air, why not use it? Well, this originally started because a new motor is 200 bucks. So I thought I would try and lubricate it and free it up, since I've done that before. But now you can start to wonder if I've got any brains or not. It just keeps getting more and more complicated. I have to use a hammer and a punch to drive this off, holding it on one edge here with a little bit of heat, and a punch and a hammer. And this end bearing is not a bearing, it's a bushing. Great quality. So when I hammered it out, the clip that was here broke, so then the shaft would float back and forth. So now I have lubricated this. I had to pry this off. I'll show how to get that back on again. And then lubricated it, so it's quite a bit freer than it was. And then this pushes back in, and then I have to reattach by chiseling these out again. Fortunately, the metal's fairly soft, so it pried out quite easily. Sometimes you just got to admit defeat, and this is one of them. This is an amazingly cheap little motor. The shaft, when I took the fan, the squirrel cage fan off, the shaft actually moved on the armature. So I got it back into position, but now it's drawing about 10 amps, which I suspect is not very good. So I've ordered another one, a new one from Volkswagen is 350. The local auto wrecker wants 110, and I can get a third party through Volkswagen for 170 with the fan, which is also broken. So if you do take on this job, I would suggest you can do it without taking it out, but you can only oil one end, which is in here, dripping oil down inside and watching it run on the shaft. Also trying to get oil into this reservoir here, which is outside the bushing. The other option, if you really do want to oil the back end, or need to, there's these rubber tabs which you can pry back with a screwdriver, push the motor out, and you can do the same thing on the other end, just to drip oil down inside, outside the bushing, and on the shaft to run into the bushing. And just keep turning it by hand, and you should have some success. But as for this one, I'm giving up. It's an expensive way to solve a self-inflicted problem. This is the new fan. Spins quite well. Looks exactly the same. As far as I can tell, it's German made even. The box says nothing about made in a far-off land where they eat a lot of rice. It does say installation by qualified personnel only, though. Oh well. What can you do? So there's the old one, which I butchered. And if I'd known a little more about it, I could have fixed it. Hey, put this back in. And I do have one long tie wrap that I can put around the heater box, just like the factory, except mine will be white instead of black. But it's all hidden, so it's okay. It's in place. Works great. Got 4 speeds, just like the other one. And I have taped together the 2 tie wraps, and I'll try and feed it up through. I don't know if I've got lots of room there or not, but well, the tie wrap fed in like nobody's business. The only problem is my super long tie wrap is not long enough. It needs to be about another 6 to 8 inches longer. So I might just have to splice together a bunch of 1-foot ones, and since I had extra, I decided I'd double them up, since 2 of those is roughly the same thickness as one of the original. And they go up inside this groove here, wrap around and come back up through this groove here. That was a fight, but it's finally done. I hit the first time I put it through and it broke. It fit in like crazy, no problem at all. The second time I had a real fight to get it to go around the top of the heater box. I had to put a right angle bend on the end, slide it in through the top up here, and get it to run down around the bottom, and then I could join them together here. So I'll clip those off, put the insulation back on the panels, and should be done. Don't forget these 3 screws. And if you watch the whole video, you know you don't have to take those out in the first place. So if you did take them out, put them back before you put in the insulation. Ask me how I know. It appears that the plastic tabs that held this panel up, which I've replaced with screws, were actually threaded. So I take it all back, Volkswagen. I didn't see that in the darkness. The hard-fought battle has finally been won. And no squeaking.